Hello, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, जहाँ पर भी आप हैं, wherever you are watching us, listening to us. We are live on Facebook. Today's this particular show, you can call it a show, you can call it a panel discussion, is specifically for people here in the U.S. I know a lot of my friends and a lot of my kind of people who follow the Varun Kapur show join from different parts of the world. Couple of things will definitely still be applicable to you guys around the world, but most of the focus tonight or today on this discussion would be primarily to the real estate market here in the U.S., specifically, obviously, on the West Coast, since we all of us are based out of the Bay Area itself, and the impacts of COVID-19 on the real estate market. A lot of friends, a lot of family, and personally, I've had multiple questions, confusions around, what's going on in the real estate market, and so I thought this would be a good segment to have. A lot of people had doubts. They sent me a couple of questions. So what I did was, have some real estate gurus, as I like to call them, but these are people who are specialized in this field. They have knowledge, they have expertise, and they have been in this industry for pretty much, their entire life. And they are the ones who we should be actually taking advice from, and not from, the social media or from the WhatsApp universities and all that stuff, because you get a lot of information outside of the real people who are dealing day in day out into real estate. So I thought this would be a good way of bringing, the sharpest minds, the sharpest people in this industry together on this platform and have them answer your questions. And thanks to all of those who have sent me your questions already. I will definitely put them in front of these guys. But before we get started, let's go around the table and let's have a quick introduction. So Alka, you want to go first and introduce yourself to everyone who's watching you right now.
Hi everyone, I'm Alka Sabarwal. I've been with Remax Accord here in the East Bay for almost about 18 years. And I'm an investor as well as a realtor, and I do on an average about 25 to 30 million in business every year. Remains to be seen what this year pans out as.
I know. All right. Thank you. Erica?
Hi. Everybody knows me with different names. My friends know me as Bagi, Bagika, all different names. But as professionally, my name is Erichan Bagi Luzano. I've been in this industry since 2004 as a salesperson working for Better Homes and Garden, Prudential, and all that. Just a couple of years ago, I think 3 years ago, I took my broker's license. And presently, I'm associated with Berkshire Hathaway. So I've been in this industry right from those days when there were short sales, REO properties, regular market, all that. I do have lots of experience that so far I've been able to achieve my clients' goals whenever they came to me. Never been a cancellation. So far, so good. I'm here. I'm very happy to be with Mr. Avasti and all 2 other ladies, beautiful ladies who are in my sphere of industry. So we will talk. I'm going to listen to them too because I need to learn from them either. Also with Varun, you and my beautiful friends who are listening, if they have any questions, please, I'm here to answer. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks, Erica. All right, Kiki.
Hi, everybody. Good evening or good morning, good afternoon. I'm Kiki Zhou. I live in the Bay Area for over 18 years. And thank you for giving me the very good opportunity tonight, Vera, to introduce myself, and then I can learn something from the other agent, and I can share what I know about the current market. And my whole family, we are doing real estate. My dad, he's an investor, and we are doing foreclosure since 2009. And I'm the real estate agent for 10 years, and my sister is a loan agent. My whole family, we are doing everything related to the house. So if you need anything, I'm in the Bay Area, Alameda County. If you need anything or any question related to the real estate or anything related to the house, just call me or just text me. I can help you answer any question for your coming soon. If you want to sell the house or if you want to buy the house, you want to know more about the current market, just give me a call. Thank you.
All right. And just a fun fact, she's also almost, I mean, she is my neighbor as well.
Yes, yes.
All right. Thanks, Kiki. All right. Rajiv.
Well, Varun, first of all, thank you very much for putting this together for all four of us to be able to reach out to as many people as we can during these uncertain circumstances that we're all enduring. And I'm sure there's a lot of question on everybody's mind about, what the real estate market entails currently and in future. A little bit about myself. I've been in this business for 18 years plus. I'm a broker associate with Intero Real Estate Services in the East Bay, and I live in the East Bay as well. And I've seen the market downturn in 2008 and then the upturn, so quite familiar with these cycles, but this is something very, very unique. And again, thanks a lot for having us here.
My pleasure. All right. So as you can all, you've heard it from each one of them, they have pretty much more than a decade of experience and almost I was just counting in my head, close to about 25 years of average kind of expertise in this area. So I thought this would definitely be a good starting point. Having so much experience and having seen so much, downtimes and uptimes in the real estate market, how are you handling this COVID-19 issue? Because nobody, I think, would have thought of or dreamt of getting into such a scenario where we pretty much are locked down in our own homes, and nobody has any idea right now, how much time it's going to take to get back to normal. So what's your personal as well as professional take on COVID-19 situation right now? Because I know you all have a lot of customers as well who are either already talking to you or who are planning to get in touch with you. So how are you kind of dealing with this right now to start off? Okay.
Well, actually, Varun, so far, business has changed tremendously. The way we do real estate has changed a lot. For instance, if you're taking a listing, there's no way you're going to do an open house and start, entertaining people coming into the home, because with social distancing, you just absolutely can't do that. But there are always buyers in the market, and before I tell you anything about real estate, let me preface by saying that real estate is always local. So any sort of a paradigm which is applicable for even the entire Bay Area would be incorrect. So different markets are differently impacted. Here in the East Bay, the market is still fairly robust, but real estate is always a lagging indicator of the rest of the economy. So we've just begun to see some of the economic numbers coming out. Just last week, we got a 6.6 number on unemployment figures. So those kinds of things have to be factored in, and we've got to see when we project what the nature of real estate is going to be in the next few weeks or months. We've got to take all those things into consideration. But real estate never drops like a rock, and it doesn't appreciate like a rocket either. So it's going to be incremental, and the bloodbath, I think, has just started. But things will unfold the way they unfold.
Right. And so what's your take on that, Rajiv? How do you or have you been dealing with this, and how are you helping your customers?
Me, Varun? I'm the one? Okay. Well, thank you. Listen, I come every Monday morning on another different radio show every Monday morning, and we discuss about the real estate and financing options for our clients. And my take on this is, and I'll give you a personal example because like Alka and Kiki and Bagika, I guess, is they're involved, day in and day out. We're in the trenches, literally, right? And so I get a lot of calls. I'm making a lot of calls, reaching out to my sphere of influence, my past clients, for a lot of new folks as well. There's a lot of people that are actually taking our calls, or my calls at least, and wanting to talk about the market and figure out whether this is a good time to sell or not, or whether this is a good time to buy or not. And I work with investors, I work with first-time buyers, I work with a whole plethora of buyers and sellers out there. And I'll give you some numbers to put things in perspective. How about that? Which I do every Monday morning on my radio show on Radio Zindagi as well. But here's the numbers, guys. Active listings, these are for the last 1 week that came in from April 1st to April 8th, and this is in the Bay Area. 841 homes came active, right? So check out these numbers. Pending that went into contract during the same last 7 days were 486 in the Bay Area. Sold that actually closed transaction in the last 7 days were 726 homes. The highest being a $10.9 million home in Pebble Beach, and the lowest sold was a $185,000 one-bedroom, one-bath condo in Concord. Now, the other thing that I take into account for all the folks listening in or tuning in today is the median days on the market that an average median listing takes before it hits the multiple listing service to when it goes into contract. We're tracking it at 9 days at this point of time. And the last factor that I take into account is the median list to median sold price, because I like to see the delta between the list price to the sold price. That has actually gone up. The week prior to this, we were tracking at $890,000 a median home in the Bay Area was priced at, and $920 was the median sold price. So there was a $30,000 delta there. This past week, Varun and everybody else on this panel, I'm tracking it at $910,000 for a median home listed in the Bay Area in the last 7 days, and $980,000 is the median sold price. So if I just told you all these numbers, what does that tell you? You'll probably say, hey, the market seems pretty robust at this point of time. But like Alka alluded to earlier, we don't know where this would lead to in the next 7 to 14 to 21 to 28 days. That time will tell. But as of today, when we talk to people, a market seems pretty normal to me. There are some pockets, of course, again, Alka had talked about, where there might be some property prices that have gone down, or there are some sellers that might be in a distressed situation. But overall, if I look at it across the Bay Area, the median list or the median sold price seems pretty strong at this point of time.
Great. That's a little positive as well, because I think a lot of people have real doubts in their minds, and of course, people like me, right? I mean, we don't look at the data the way you do. We don't have access to data the way you guys have. So I think coming from people like you will definitely instill a little bit of confidence in all the people, all the buyers as well as sellers. So one of the things that definitely came out, and a couple of questions which really a lot of people already have in their mind. Like, if I am, say, a buyer right now, is this a good time to buy? Or do you think this market will flatten out a little bit, will go down because of all the crisis, and then people will be in a panic mode to sell? What's your take? Maybe Kiki, you want to answer that, and then maybe we can get to other people as well.
Yes, thank you. So from what I might suggest is like the current market, if you are the first-time home buyer, like I have few first-time home buyer right now, they are still looking at property right now. Even right now, we need to stay home. Then you can really go to do the open house or showing, but they still willing to go by themselves. So right now, the sign listing, they give the combo code, so buyer can go by themselves, but they have to sign the PAD form. That means if anything happen because of the COVID-19, the seller and buyer need to take their own responsibility. So it's a risk. So, but But some buyer they really want a deal because right now the market is still have house on the market, but less competitor, so they can get a better deal because less bidding. So of course, I would say if you are the first-time home buyer, you are paying for the rent right now. It's still a good time to buy the house. But if you are an investor, you are looking for the short-term money back, then I would say just wait because we don't really know how long everybody will go back to the work, and we don't know how the market gonna be changed. From now, I don't see anything change a lot. Like what the RJ say that I did the every day research every day to follow the market pending sold back on market. I did that by myself too every day. So it look very normal right now, the real estate market. But before the COVID-19, it was a little bit crazy. The market is crazy, but right now it's go back to normal. So I would say if you are the first-time home buyer, you really you don't want to pay the rent to the landlord, then if you find a good deal, why not? It's still a good time to buy the house.
Got it. Go ahead, Erica. Erica, you are on.
Hi. Okay. Well, I agree with Mr. Awasthi. Okay, Rajiv, I agree with you. And I also agree with Ms. Chu with regard to the market, business and real estate, which is as usual. It's just because health and our life is more important. This has nothing to do with the financial situation of our country. It has something to do with our life. And it's time that's why our whole, the mindset has been directed to elsewhere for our safety. But with regard to the real estate, I don't see any changes. As long as the listings are concerned in the market, Raju has taken the whole Bay Area. I'm just focusing on one county, like I told you, Contra Costa County. Within this 1 month, April, I've seen 169 listings in the market. Sellers are more aggressive to sell. It's just the buyers have different protocol now in order to make a decision to get into the contract, and the lenders have their own guidelines in order to approve the loans. So these are the protocols that we need to get familiarized, and the agents have responsibilities to educate the buyers. And there's nothing to panic about the real estate business in the market for the first-time buyers. As long as a buyer is qualified to buy a home, as long as he loves the area, as long as he's thinking about his kids and he wants to live in the area, and as long as there is a property out in the market within the market price, this is a market, and it's always going to remain the same. It has no impact with regard to the COVID thing. It's business as usual. It's just the sales are a little slow because buyers are not used to the new guidelines. We agents are also learning in order to protect our health and their safety, and the seller's safety, the buyer's safety. We have a big responsibility. So for the first 1 week, we were like dumbfounded. We were also worried for our lives. But after a week, when the government, the guidelines that we got, how to manage the sales. For example, we don't do open houses anymore. We have, if a buyer is interested to buy a home, we have the virtual tours. If the seller is interested to sell the property, we are helping them with the virtual staging. We can show the buyers, we can show the world by doing the staging virtually and showing the property as to how it's going to look if they choose to buy the property. How is the area? How is the neighborhood? And with regard to the lending, we have the appraisals which have been taken a different guidelines. Now they don't go to the property to do the appraisal. They have been just stopping by from outside or at the desktop when they look around the numbers, the properties that's been sold earlier or before. They have their own way of calculations, the pricing. So there are certain changes that has been happened. And for us, in order to show the property to a buyer, we have to make sure that, they only have like 2 people going there. One is the agent, the other one is the person who wants to see the property. It's just like minimizing the social contact, and with the guidelines by using the gloves, all that thing. We have to just take care of ourselves when we're looking at the property or going to a new place. That's about it. It's all about safety. With regard to the business, it's as usual. The prices might going down because they're for temporarily, but it's going to come back. Real estate is beautiful. It's still there, and I have buyers who are looking for, and I'm still happy to be a real estate professional. So no, for me, I'm fine.
Yeah, that's good to know. And so one of the things that you touched upon here, and Rajiv, maybe I'll go back to you. This point of not being able to see the house. Earlier, if I am a buyer, I had options to go there multiple times, and set up even if it's not in an open house, I could still set up time with my agent, go to the property, look it up again and again, and get a confidence level which was so high that yes, I would be ready to invest. But now, and in this scenario, that's not the case. Like what Eric just mentioned, it's almost pretty much virtual that we are doing. So how are your customers, or what are you doing? How are you handling this situation as well? Are you also doing all the virtual tours, or is there still some kind of proximity, like accessibility available?
Great question, Varun. So let me take a stab at this on the buyer side and also answer it from the seller side, because I'm sure your listeners might be somebody who might be thinking of listing the property, how we're going to tackle that. And there might be buyers who are looking to buy. And like Eric Chan said earlier, interest rates are lower, right? So take advantage of the lower interest rates. The competition is not as crazy. I think it's a much more healthier market at this point of time. But by the numbers that I quoted to you earlier, it seems to me, and these are just the last week's numbers, and we can, drill it down to county wide, we can drill it down to city wide, we can drill it down to zip code wide. If anybody is interested, reach out, to me, rajivawasti.com, and go through that. But as far as buyers are concerned, listen, real estate, I don't know if people know or not, but is deemed as essential services, right? So what that means is there's still, transactions that are happening. Like I told you, 486 homes went pending. How did they go into contract in the last 7 days? Not every home was shown virtually. There are opportunities where the buyers could write an offer subject to visual inspections. Sellers may be open to that. There's a lot of virtual tours available. For my listings, I'm doing Matterport listing, where you could literally, that's a technology which has been there for many years, but is being utilized more and more now. So digital showing of homes is where the focus is going on right now. You could literally go and see every room in the house through the Matterport. As a matter of fact, my new listing in Blackhawk, which is going to be coming up, is going to be video and as well as a Matterport listing. So now, as far as buyers are concerned, Varun, I've had buyers that I put into contract ever since we had this shelter in place. 3 current transactions, and how they got into that was, if the home is vacant, all we need to do is, reach out to the listing agent and, sign off on an addendum that Eric Chan alluded to earlier, which both the buyers and sellers sign off, and we take due diligence, wearing either mask and gloves, and make sure that we don't touch up every doorknob and open every cabinet. But yeah, one can definitely go take a look at vacant homes. Not an issue as far as if it's owner occupied, as long as the seller is okay with the buyers coming through. And like Eric Chan again alluded to earlier, an agent accompanied by maximum 2 people can go at any given time. So they're still happening. I showed a property in Santa Clara just last Friday to my client, and I will be showing another property in Fremont tomorrow. So there is activity. There is a lot of interest. Like I said, the numbers speak for themselves. And as long as these numbers can kind of sustain themselves, I think real estate is one constant amongst this volatility that we're experiencing, especially in the stock market. So that's how we're tackling both the sellers from the listing side and the buyers from, they're interested in buying.
I don't know, I think I lost the thing. No?
I cannot
Varun, I can't hear you, but I can hear Alka.
hear
Oh,
you.
imagine I put myself on mute as well. Yes, Alka, we can hear you. Yeah, so that was the question.
Varun? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yes. I actually put the question when I was on mute. So apologies. So the question was, are you also in the same boat? Are you, the way Rajiv explained, the way Erican explained, are you also having the same kind of, buyer versus seller questions, and that's how you're handling as well with all your customers?
Look, here's the thing. None of us have a crystal ball, but if history is any indicator of the future, and I think those who don't learn the lessons of history are going to repeat it. So I believe the crisis that we had in 2008 was a very different crisis from what we have right now. But I think the lessons to learn from that crisis are that real estate does not change in a day. The numbers that Rajiv gave, some of the properties which have just gotten into escrow or properties which have closed, from the time you enter escrow to the time you close, there's a lag of 45 to 60 days. 45 to 60 days ago, none of us thought that this situation would be as bad as what it's proving to be. So moving into the future, I think every particular buyer's circumstances are different, and we're going to see that depending on a buyer's circumstance, definitely what Rajiv and Kiki said, the interest rates are excellent right now, but does a buyer have the have the guts to take, to catch a falling knife? I mean, when the stock market was going down, when it went down from, the Dow went down from 29,000 to 26,000, it seemed like 26,000 is an incredible buy. But then it went down further to 21,000, and then one day to 18,500. Now, at what point do you say, hey, I'm going to catch it. I'm going to, take a risk and go for it. And every buyer's circumstances are different. The investors are going to come out later. I mean, they're already buying the market. And as the stock market goes down, the money shifts from stocks to real estate always. So you're going to have a whole influx of investors towards the end of the year. My investors are already beginning to eye the market, and we are starting to have a dialogue about what's the right time to buy. And let me go back a little bit more and to give you a comprehensive idea of what happens in the real estate market. In fact, I feel we already had begun to see some recessionary pressures on real estate towards the end of last year. But then January rolled around, and things were looking pretty bleak. But February, the market picked up. And February through March, the market did reasonably well. And seasonally, this is the best time in the market, all the way to about June, July, and then again the market pulls back. This year, I would recommend that people who have to buy. If you are, for instance, in a rental and you want to buy a property for as your primary residence for a long period of time, fine. Over a period of 5 to 6 years, you'll be fine. So go ahead and start making offers. But if you're an investor, if you're a speculator, then I would say you've got to wait and watch and see what the market does. And the seasonal impact of the market will always be known after September. So you'll always know that the market will pull back beyond September, and then that might be the time to really make your move. So as a buyer, but as a seller, I have different ideas, but I'm sure you'll be covering that in your questions later.
Sure. No, absolutely. And you also brought up a good point about the investors, right? I mean, earlier, and this is a question that came out, and everybody wanted to kind of have a little bit of insight from all of you. There used to be a lot of international investors who would invest in properties there, specifically here in the Bay Area because of the kind of houses and the house market it was. So how will that impact them? Would we see more influx or would we see less of an influx from the international investors? What's your take on that?
Do you want me to take that?
Who's this?
Okay.
Well, the Chinese investors typically have been the largest investors in our real estate market. And 37% of the investments made by Chinese investors are made in California. We are the state that has benefited the most by investments from Chinese. And these are, oftentimes done because they want to put their kids through colleges. So they buy in college towns, they buy condominiums, townhomes, sometimes single family residences. So I think, however, sometime middle of last year, when there were issues going on with tariffs, etc., the Chinese government came on, and Kiki might be able to enlighten us a little bit more on this. But I think the Chinese government came down pretty hard on real estate investments in the US. So I think since last year, we began to see a little bit of a pullback in Chinese investors. So I expect that that will continue. There's also there's been a little bit of an uptick in hate crimes against Chinese since the time the COVID crisis started. So I think that's going to be a further, lack of incentive for them to, start investing here. So I think we have to wait and watch and see. But of course, when real estate prices go down, international investors come out in droves because over a long period of time, you've always got to project a cycle of 5 years and beyond for real estate. So, I have never believed in flipping homes, in buying homes for a quick profit. So as a very stable investor, and most international investors are fairly deep pockets, stable investors and high net worth people, I think they will come back, but the prices will have to adjust just a tad for that to start happening.
Got it. Kiki, your take on that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, right now I would say even right now in China, everybody back to the normal life. They all back to work right now. As I know now in the China's real estate market, nothing changed. It's still the same. So I'm not really worried about the Bay Area's house market, especially we are in the Bay Area. Most people, they are all the engineers, they still work from home. So for the house market, if anything changed, that probably would, if the unemployment rate keep increase, if take longer, maybe 2 or 3 more weeks or another 1 month, 2 months, that may change the market. But like my current client, I have a lot cash buyer. They are from China and they are waiting. After the coronavirus in China, they are planning to buy the house. They say they should purchase the investment property in China. They can have better deal because compared to the US dollar to the Chinese dollar right here, it's more like foreign is nothing. Like 1 million, 2 million house, they feel it's nothing. So they all prepare. Yeah, they want to. I have one group of a client. They are planning to come early April. The whole group coming here to see the real estate, but too bad right now they cannot come because of coronavirus. So they stop, but they are preparing. They are still keep transfer money over to the USA. But they have problem too. One problem is in China right now. You cannot really do the wealth transfer very often. They have the limit to that. You cannot doing that same account, same person in 4 bank accounts. So they need to ask someone else to help to do the transfer. But I also have the cash buyer. We got the deal here. They just do the whole cash fund from Hong Kong to the title company. So I would say right now a lot of Chinese investor, and even in here, I would say a lot of investors, they are waiting. They are waiting for to see how's the market going, because I keep get a call from a lot of buyer and they call me and they say they are going to take more money from the house, the equity line, and they are ready to wait for the its market crash. But I don't think the market is gonna be crashed. So if everybody's waiting right now, and for example, 2 months later, everybody want to buy the house on the market, then market is gonna getting crazy again. So I would suggest the first time home buyer, if you are ready and if you still working, it's time to get a better price. For the seller, like I have few listing right now we cannot put on the market because the seller occupied. They don't want to take a risk to do the showing. So they want to wait after everybody go back to the work, everything back to normal, and then we are on the house on the market. But for the property has nobody there, the vacant property, I would suggest seller, if you have properties nobody living, you still can do the listing right now because you still have a buyer right now, and then you don't take any risk because nobody living there. So it's still a good time. Who knows? Like if the coronavirus take longer than 2 months, 3 months, we don't know, because I think that will because more people no work, unemployment rate will getting very high. Then market gonna be changed. So it's hard to say 100% good timing or no. But I would say if you really need to purchase a house now, it's still a good time because go back to the last year. Last year the market is cooled down like Christmas time, but this year from the middle of January is getting crazy again. Yeah.
Great, great. Yeah, Rajiv, you were saying something as well. Go ahead.
Well, I always take it in a different angle, and with due respect to everybody on this panel, but I always have a positive spin to life, and this is my thought process, okay, and this is my personal opinion, and I give my personal opinion based on the conversations that I have with my sellers and my buyers. And I'm reaching out to each one of those categories of people and investors on a daily basis, so making a few hundred calls a day. So that's reaching out to a lot of people. And I'm noticing people are actually picking up the phone and having a conversation. So I just had a virtual listing appointment via Zoom today for a potential $2.6 million home in the East Bay. And their reasons for selling are very different. I mean, somebody is either getting divorced or just became widowed, or they want to sell because they can't afford this big house, so they want to downsize. They will have to put their house on the market. And we are here to serve our clients' needs to the best of our abilities with all the digital technology that we have at our behest. And also the fact that, look, I'm maintaining this, that real estate is deemed as essential service. My client that closed on a property called me and said, hey, can I make a move with this shelter in place? I said, absolutely. I mean, if there are moving companies that, are willing to be moving, by all means, then you definitely can move. The seller who just closed on a transaction is planning to move out too. So people buy, again, because interest rates are low. I think I told you the numbers, but again, I haven't mentioned that there's a lot of homes that are not on the market yet. We belong to a network. I'm sure Alka and Kiki and Erichan can allude to that. Top Agent Network, we call it TAN for short. I've seen 621 posts for coming soon listings on there in the last 10 days. And this is not even on the actual MLS that I've quoted the numbers. So there's a lot of off-market properties available. And as long as the property is priced right, and as long as there's a seller motivation and a buyer motivation, there will be a transaction. Same way as buyers buy because either the rents are too high or they have not lost, they're not using the funds from their stock portfolio. I heard, and we all know what the stock market has done and being very volatile, that there are people that I know that I'm working with who may have 10% or even 20% down, and are pre-approved by a strong lender, underwritten approval, and are looking to buy today as long as they can get a home which they and their mindset is different. So it depends on, I always say different strokes for different folks. It's who you talk to. You can either paint a blank canvas any color that you may want to, but I'm still maintaining, look, there's good transactions to be had, good deals to be had. There may not be as much competition. There's a lot of new home construction. I mean, we take that into account. We have pretty significant amount of inventory, and there might be some good opportunities for buyers to take advantage of the new home builders, wherein if they have standing inventory, they may be inclined to give either price adjustments or upgrades, or they're willing to work with the buyers. So at this point of time, my take is, look, it's business as usual. As long as you're able and capable and you have a job and you feel comfortable with that. Most of the unemployment numbers that have come in the last 2 to 3 weeks have been at the lower level where small businesses have had to furlough or lay off people. We haven't seen yet the big Fortune 500 companies start laying off people when, unlike what we experienced in 2008. So the buying and selling has slowed down a tad bit, but there's one constant: is you buy for a reason as a buyer, is for different reasons. You're not tired of renting, you want to buy. As a seller, you have your reasons to put the house on the market. Seasons don't dictate when you want to put your house on the market. So that's my 2 cents on the real estate market.
Perfect. Yeah.
There's something here, Varun. And there is a nice good news to all the existing homeowners with regard to the mortgage. They are getting the benefit of at least for 12 months mortgage that can be delayed. They can wait for their mortgage payment every month. Whatever the loans called, what do you call that? Fannie Mae, Freddie Mae loans. They are going to be, not bothered about paying the mortgages for 12 months. Or for the existing homeowners, which is really relaxing for the homeowners, and they're not going to be worrying about putting their property for sale or short sale or foreclosure, because they have been given all this relief from the Fed. So we are having lots of benefits because of this current situation, and to take care of this temporary pandemic situation, whatever it's called. So I think it's business as usual for us, just like Mr. Awasthi says. I agree with him. All I'm looking for good serious buyers, and because it is an essential services, we'll be working for you guys and the sellers too. So nothing, it's about COVID, so yes, no problem, we're fine.
Okay, yeah, Rajiv, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to make a quick point about the forbearance that the government has announced. That,
yes.
Yeah, I just want to be extra cautious and convey that to all the people who are listening in about not paying their mortgages or their car payments. And so the car companies are saying, hey, you know what, you can defer it by 2 months, 3 months, and so is the lender saying that. There's no way, nobody has talked about how it's going to impact the credit rating, because the credit bureaus, if they're not going to be reported to, but they have a certain algorithm. I just want to be extra careful telling people, look, if you are in the market and you can afford to make your payment today, do not take this advantage, so to speak, that the government is talking about of not paying, because forbearance, what it means is, next 90 days, let's say if it's a non-Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac loan, or 12 months for if it's a Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac loan, they'll tag it on to your principal amount. It's called forbearance, right? And now how is that going to impact your credit? Will that impact it negatively? We don't know yet. So look, if you're in the market, you're able to make the payment. Otherwise, do what you need to do is my 2 cents of advice on
your
that.
House.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that was another question and a comment actually, somebody made that, with all these options being, given out, I think the point that we should all, I think, emphasize is do the research first before you just jump onto a conclusion that, government is giving away, or relaxing some of these things. We should do our research, without doing a thorough research, without going into the technical details. Do not just assume you are going to be bailed out. It's not a bailout. It's a crisis, and everybody's trying to help as much as possible. But let's not misuse. Use it, don't abuse it.
Reach out to your professional services. Reach out to your agents, your salesperson, and let them guide you, let them walk through, because they have the license to help you out. They're there to help you.
Yeah, go ahead, Kiki.
Yeah. I want to say something like what Rajiv said about the mortgage payment. Yes, don't listen to what the government say, but you have to call your lender to make sure that they are okay to let you to skip for the few mortgage, and make sure is nothing gonna to do on your credit. So you have to call by yourself to the lender. And then also today, the auto insurance company, they also offer few like Allstate, Farmers, they offer 20%, 15% off. If you call to the company by yourself, they will give you the discount, because right now everybody's not driving a car, so you can get some credit back, or just talk to your insurance agents.
Got it. No, absolutely. And I just want to be mindful of the time as well. Couple of quick questions. One question that definitely came up was with the all-time low interest rate. I know you all have said the same thing. This is definitely a good time. But one of the things, or a question came out, that with all the crisis and all that, do you guys have? And of course, this is $1 million question. I'm not looking for a concrete answer. But basically, with all-time low interest rates, do you feel this interest rate might go down a little bit more, and people should just wait for that opportunity, or should they just grab what they have and then invest right now, or buy houses or properties? Sure, Kiki, you're on mute, so go ahead.
Oh, okay. So right now, what I heard from the different lender, the bank right now, they have problem right now. It's not really. It's very unstable. Every day they have different policy. It keep changing. Even during the last day of closing, banks reject to give the funding. They are request more information. So if you find a really good rate right now with no cost, I would say just do it. I don't think right now the interest will be going down, because right now a lot of investors, they are holding the fund. They don't want to give out the fund. They want to hold it because they are really worried about what's gonna happen in the next few weeks. So right now, bank, they have a different policy every day. So I would say it's good rate. Just go ahead to do it, and you can do the refinance later. Then you can get your house first.
Sure. Yeah, Rajiv.
Yeah, so a little bit about the financing aspect. I work with a lot of lenders. I have a in-house lender at my own home, and they work with a major bank. So here's a take on that. The major banks are, from refinancing standpoint, are deferring those transactions, and they're more interested in the purchase side of it. So the refinancing is taking 60 to 90 days at this point of time. But to answer your question, will the interest rates go down further? I just want to point out, people get mistaken about what the Feds announced. Hey, we're cutting down the interest rates. Those interest rates are for overnight borrowing rates, all right? They impact your equity lines of credit. They impact your student loans, your credit card, your car loans, but not directly your mortgage loans. The mortgage loans are loosely connected to the bond market. As the bond prices go up, the interest rates go down. And why they go up? Because people are transferring the money from the stocks to the bonds and putting into a safe haven. So my 2 cents on the interest rates is it's going to remain low for the rest of the year. So I don't think people ought to panic about that part. If they're not ready now, I don't think the interest rates are going up in a hurry anytime this year, at least.
Got it. That's great insight. Okay.
You have to, as a buyer, analyze what is your personal situation. Safe and secure in your job. If you're a first-time buyer, are the rents going to increase wherever you are at right now? If that is the scenario, then it may be worthwhile for you to explore the market see what you can negotiate, because there will be, in the next few months, there'll be some great deals, I mean, I just entered a contract day before yesterday with Lennar for a new home. And Lennar typically was not ready to do even a little bit of negotiation, because they're typically builders who have everything thrown in, all options, everything. The home that they provide you is a home which has everything, and they wouldn't negotiate price at all. But we were able to get the price knocked off by 12 grand, and get some further incentives. Like, we got a terrific interest rate, which Lennar's subsidiary company, Eagle Home Mortgage, which is a subsidiary of Lennar, brought down the interest rate. We got a 30-year fix for 2.875. I mean, that rate doesn't exist with the big banks. You could go to Bank of America or Wells Fargo or any of the other, First Republic, that rate just does not exist. So there are some slim pickings out there, but an individual should never go by what's the rate, what's the market doing. They have to go by what their individual scenario is. For instance, we've just begun to see the layoffs, and some of the tech workers may be a little more secure, but there's a huge industry out there that's laying off people: retail, tourism, airlines, I mean, you name it. We've just begun to see the unemployment numbers, as I was referring to the 6.6 million that we saw last week. They're projecting that there's going to be unemployment of up to between 15 to 20%. Now, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but this is just what we are hearing. And like I said, none of us have a crystal ball. If that's eventually the scenario that we are encountering, then home prices have to come down, because there are going to be a whole bunch of motivated sellers who are not going to be able to make their payments. And eventually they either have to do a short sale, or the bank has to foreclose on their properties. So just like what we saw in 2008, I don't feel like it's the same kind of financial scenario, but it has the possibility of being just as bad or even worse, because the economy is not coming back till we have a vaccine, which they're projecting 12 months to 18 months to get. It's not like they're going to remove the lockdown and we're going to jump right back into the economy and start going to restaurants and big games and filling up stadiums and, taking trips to Cabo and all these places. So things are going to be, and when we're in such a flux and such a volatile scenario, I think, postponing and not over leveraging. I definitely don't believe in over leveraging. What we were talking about, forbearance and stuff like that, I would say that if you need to delay your mortgage payments by 2 months or 3 months, please don't buy. Don't over leverage. You're going to, enter into a scenario where it's going to be impossible for you to make the payments, and it's going to impact your credit and everything else later down the road. So that's just from a very conservative perspective, and realism should not be mistaken for a lack of positivism. But I think, all of us realtors want to make a deal, and we want to make it business as usual. But ultimately, a buyer and seller has to understand the marketplace. And the marketplace is going through some voluminous changes. And even your realtors who are professionals don't understand which way this market's headed. So everybody needs to do their own homework and do a little bit further analysis and not buy into the spiel. That's all I can say.
Sure. No, very, very valid point. And again, I just want to be mindful of the time. It's almost, past 7. So another point that was coming up, and you guys all have kind of touched on that. There's a little bit of uncertainty around all the layoffs that's going to happen. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen over a period of time. Government has been saying, and a lot of our tech companies, I work for a tech company, and, we have these all hands and all these meetings almost every week with our CEO, where he's bringing up this topic again and again, because this is a hot question in everybody's mind, that how is this going to impact our jobs? And a lot of companies, not as big as, the multinationals, they are kind of laying off, they're letting go of people. And I'm pretty sure everybody has the same opinion that within the next 3 to 5 months, we will see a lot of correction in the job scenarios. We'll have a lot of layoffs they have to look at. And this COVID situation has also brought up a lot of this work from home culture, revival of sorts. Everybody is now thinking that, maybe this is another way of cutting off costs. We should involve or indulge in more of this work from home culture, that people work and save on our, the electricity bills and the investment on the properties and all that stuff. But at the same time, over the next couple of months, there is bound to happen. This is bound to happen where a lot of people will lose jobs. And that is definitely discouraging a lot of people from taking that step of buying a house. What would you have to say, to those people who are in that board, IT professionals and other business owners? I heard, we had a session a few weeks back where I had these small, medium business owners who run subways and, these different shops. They are feeling the heat, even though the government is trying to support them, but that is not free money. The money has to go back to the government, one day, and that will impact those jobs. So what's your take on that? How do you think should this pan out? Alka, since you are on mute already, why don't you take this?
Well, Varun, look, I think, I'm not as optimistic as the others on the panel. I do feel that real estate is going to go through enormous correction. And I think commercial real estate in particular is going to go through a lot of correction, because some of the things we've been doing during COVID, like work from home, are going to become more and more the norm. And, we're going to come through this crisis with some different ways of working. And I don't believe that, just May 3rd, for instance, when the lockdown, and I hope we stick to the May 3rd date, when the lockdown is lifted, I don't feel we'll be going back to the original way of doing business, and nor will we be doing, tourism is going to be impacted, airlines are going to be impacted, hotels, eating out, these huge big football games. And so there's a lot of the economy which is going to go through, the misery index is going to be enormous. That's personally what I feel, because when you talk to tech workers, they all seem to be doing fine. They have a lot of, they're very nimble in making adjustments. Zoom's become my PAL and WebEx, and a lot of things. Like I'm surrounded by tech people. Most of my clients, I've got a tech person at home. My daughter is in tech. My son-in-law. So all of them will be fine. Your professionals will be okay, but that's not the entire economy. That's just a very small fraction of the economy. So I feel really, if you are in a position that you can wait and watch, what's the need to jump in? Wait and watch. But at the same time, if you're getting a tremendous deal, because I can assure you, there are going to be tremendous deals in the market, because there are going to be sellers that are going to be hurting. Just like somebody on the panel alluded, they referenced a seller who has to sell because he's lost a job. What's he going to do? If he has to sell as a buyer, I hate to say this, but that's where you go and get a good buy. So it's a time to wait and watch. It's not a time to over leverage, get in over yourself, and commit yourself to a mortgage, which is going to force you, and stay within your debt to income ratios. A lot of young people, because property values are so high in the Bay Area, tend to over leverage. I caution them from doing that. I would say, this is a time when you have to take things a little bit slow, get with a trusted person who's going to have the patience to show you as much as you need to see. And when you feel comfortable, make your move. But for investors, I can tell you, and I myself am an investor, towards the end of the year, you'll begin to see some terrific buys. So hold your powder dry till then, is what I would say.
That's a good. Yeah, Rajiv, go ahead.
Yeah, well, again, I'll take a different angle to it. That's almost akin to being a Democrat versus Republican here. But, I say, do your rent versus buy analysis, right? Rents have gone up over 18% in the last 24 months or so. And people who are in a high rent situation, if you have the wherewithal, the confidence, nobody's telling anybody. Everybody makes their own decision. We're here to facilitate the sale or the purchase of a home. And if you do the rent versus buy analysis, and if you need more information, reach out to me via my website, rajivawasi.com. I'll be more than happy to do that. Now, lenders, and I agree with Alka that I'm totally against anybody over leveraging. But as long as you have the down payment and you have the payment and your rent versus buy analysis is the same as what you're paying rent versus what you're going to pay a mortgage, and plus the advantages of owning a home where you get a tax benefit and equity growth and so on, because you're going to buy a home to live in for a long period of time and not to flip it. Absolutely. Do your analysis, do your research, and if you feel comfortable and if you feel that you can get a great buy, where we're here to guide you as a buyer to look at different areas and different property types so that it kind of fits into your needs and wants, by all means. I mean, even in 2008, right now we're handicapped because of the actual going to the properties. What happened in 2008? People lost a lot of jobs. We had very high unemployment. And maybe to Alka's point, if this drags along for a long period of time, we may come to that or even surpass that. The banks are very, very tight on giving out loans. So it's not easy to go out, and all the I's have to be dotted and T's have to be crossed before they can even give you a loan. So you have to be a person in good standing. And if you are, and credit rating is good and your debt to income ratios are in line, then your job secure and you have the down payment, by all means you will buy, as long as, everybody is different. So we cannot make a sweeping statement that everybody ought to wait and watch. People got to do what they got to do at the end of the day.
I have to make a point. First of all, the rent versus buy analysis is not a static analysis. Okay, when the prices of homes fall, the purchase is going to look very different. That analysis is going to look very different. So you cannot have, in a dynamic market, you cannot have a static rent versus buy analysis. That's number one. Number two, you alluded to Republicans versus Democrats. The Democrats are the ones who sorted out the property situation. When Obama came into market, what a bloodbath we were going through. And finally, things were back on track. And the Republicans are the ones who brought us to the point that we are right, So I'd caution you in the Republican versus Democrat analysis.
All right. So on that, we don't want to get into the political side of it, but Kiki, what's your take? Since we are almost at the verge of wrapping up the session, what's your take on this topic?
Yeah, I would say I got a call from my clients couple days ago. She want to sell her investment property. I asked her why. She say, I'm afraid my tenant's not gonna pay me a rent because right now the government say tenant no need to pay for the rent. And she owns a restaurant. Right now they have really bad time to go through. The restaurant is closed and only she and her husband work at the restaurant right now. They are doing the to-go order right now. And I told her, if you still receive the rent, then that's nothing you need to do. Why you need to sell the house? Because if you sell your house right now at this moment, because of you worry about the tenant, then it's not a good timing because you have to pay for a lot of cost when you sell the house. And she got very good deal this property 2 years ago. So I told her just it's an investment. Why it's called investment? All investment will take a risk. If you don't take a risk, that means not the investment. Then she understands. She say, okay, let me think about that. Then she called me back a couple days later. She say, well, I think I just will see if I hope my tenant will pay me the rent. And like my family, we owned another property, and my parents, they really worry about the tenant don't pay the rent. And I got a text from my tenant too. She say, can you skip the this month and next month's rent for me if you can help me, because my work hours cut off. And I told her that my work hours also cut off. I stay home since since March, and I stay home. I stay home too. And if you really need help, I may help, but I'm not gonna to keep the rent. Then she said, okay, I will. Let's see what should I do. And now she pay. And my other tenant too, she asked me the same question, but right now she pay me like, because she work at the hospital right now, and then I think her shift is cut off. Is I don't know why it's cut off for the half half of her work schedule, and right now she pay me every day for a couple hundred. So at least she pay, then I can help for that. But I would say investment property always take the risk, and for the long term investments, if you see the good deal, you still can buy the house. For my experience, because I'm sure even the market is going down, just in case there's a unemployment rates increase, market going down a little bit. But if you get a good deal, market will come back, because this is a Bay Area. I'm not really worried about the Bay Area's house market. But if like you have paid for the monthly mortgage is over 500, then your rental payment you have to consider about it. If you have, of course, if you have more fun, then that's fine. Just keep the rental and doing a longer investment property.
Got it. All right. Thanks for that. And Erica, if you want to just have any comments to add to what everyone said.
I will just be positive, okay? Because this is very temporary. Those who are qualified to buy a home, those who really need to buy a home, please work with your agent. Make sure that you check yourself if you're really qualified to buy a home, if you can make a mortgage. I would say take advantage of the interest rate, take advantage of the market, and do go out, look at the property. And there are so many listings out there. Right, in only Contra Costa that I'm giving you as an example, 1,109 homes are available to see. Investors or homeowners, first-time homeowners, anybody, please reach out. Be positive. It's just a temporary, but you have to follow the protocol. You have to follow some health guidelines. Make sure you follow that. Your life is more important than this temporary issues that we're having right now with regard to what's going to happen in future, the real estate. Everything is temporary. The market is go down. It is going to have a recovery phase, definitely, because of this situation right now. Everybody's home. Somebody's jobless. Somebody's not getting paid. All the situations, you're going to have a recovery phase, but later on, the market is going to be normal. And everything will be okay. So please, it's fine. It's an essential service. We are here to work for you. Reach out to us. And all the best. Be safe. Be home. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Erica. So, I'm going to.
I can't hear you.
Oh, all right. Sorry. So I'm going to kind of try to summarize as well as, kind of close down because it's almost 7:20 now. So, while we were talking, we didn't even realize it's been more than an hour now. And yes, this is a topic which I think a lot of people are liking. I was looking at a few of the comments. This is an important topic. This is a very good conversation that we are having. And this is something which is the need of the hour, and everybody appreciated the conversation. I think a lot of us, a lot of things that you guys mentioned, I think that was something which everyone wanted to hear from the experts. So thank you for doing that. But before I close out, of course, one of the key things that has definitely come out for me as a learning is, first, of course, there is uncertainty around this market, no doubt about it. There is uncertainty about COVID-19, how much time it's going to take, what are the other repercussions of COVID-19 on the job market, on interest rate and all that stuff. But still, if you are in that capacity, please go ahead, look up houses. There are so many options available in the market. If you have the capacity, if you have the approvals, please go ahead and do that. There's no need to panic. There is no need of creating hysteria around the market. Please go ahead and do that. But at the same time, if your situation is not certain, do not try to, like I initially said, I don't know if that is the right statement or not, but don't try to abuse the system. Don't try to, capitalize on this. But be safe. End of the day, housing market will go up, will go down. But at the same time, you need to look at your own situation, like what Alka, like everybody said, and act accordingly. So before I say bye, I'll go around the table. Alka, you want to have any closing comments? And let me unmute you first.
Varun, I wanted to reference what Kiki had mentioned, actually. And my heart goes out to the tenants who own the restaurant and were unable to make their payments. So, there's a lot of talk about a moratorium on rents for 4 months is what was originally said, so all tenants would get a break of up to 4 months on paying rents, and landlords would not be able to start eviction proceedings. Now, if you are not aware of this, eviction proceedings, from the time unlawful detainer action is taken by a landlord, it takes almost about 4 months to actually evict a tenant. So you've got 4 months of moratorium on rent when you're not going to be able to start eviction proceedings, and then another 4 months that the eviction proceeding is going to start. So potentially you could be 8 months without rent, right? And on top of that, when you do eviction proceedings, it's considered a retaliatory action, but tenants start at that point really abusing the property that they're living in. So, small investors should be very careful about that. And you should, if you, just like Kiki's doing, if you can work out things with your tenants, work them out amicably, make it a little easier for them so that they don't feel the pain as much, and work with their situation just like she is doing, because people are hurting right now. And if there is some way that you could ease the pain and not let it come to the point that you have to evict a tenant, then by all means, do that. But I can tell you, there are some small landlords. In fact, I have a client who called me the other day, totally panicked because the rent check hadn't, in fact, they just bought a home last year and converted their first condo into a rental, and the rent check did not come. So they were like totally panicked. What do we do now? We are hearing that 4 months, we can't even start eviction proceedings. Can we somehow say that, okay, we want to sell the house through the, and I was like, guys, yes, you can do that. But, just inhale, think about it. And fortunately, the next day the rent came. So it was fine. but there are going to be landlords who are small landlords who are going to be hurting. So over leveraging can do that to you. If you are over leveraged in property, it can, and you have a few mishaps here and there, then it can bring you to your knees. It can be really bad for you.
No, very valid.
That's my closing remarks.
Very, very good. And before I move to Erican, Alka, you want to share your details as well to everyone who's listening, so that we can, if anybody wants to reach out to you, where and how they can reach out to you.
Thank you.
Well,
my office is in Walnut Street.
Sorry. One second. Alkaji, that was for you, and then Erican, you can go. Yeah.
Okay. So guys, my name is Alka Sabarwal. I'm online. Alka at spcglobal.net is my email. I generally work only with referrals, people that I've either been referred to or clients that I've worked with in the past. and we are coming into a time when I'm going to be working a lot with investors. But if anybody has a question or you want to reach out to me, by all means, I'm online. All my information is online. I even have real estate Facebook page. So reach out. I love to talk to people. I get my energy out of people. So I'd love to be able to help you, in any way I can. I'm restricted to just the Tri-Valley area. That's where I do my real estate. Danville, Blackhawk, San Ramon, Pleasanton, sometimes Fremont, but that's where my area of expertise is, and that's where I bring value.
Thank you, and I can vouch on that energy level for sure. If not anything else, I can definitely vouch on that energy level. That is really, very, very, what do you call that? Addictive as well. So thank you, Alka, for joining and for sharing. All right, Erica, you want to go next?
All right. First of all, I want to thank you truly for giving us this opportunity to talk to you and to this world, whoever we are connected right now by Facebook. And let me introduce myself one more time. My name is Erichan Rizanu. I'm associated with Berkshire Hathaway. My office is in Walnut Creek, and we are virtual agents actually right now. We are just phone call away. I work with all kinds of clients, new clients, first-time home buyers, investors, no bar. So if anybody is interested to buy a home either in Contra Costa County, Solano County, Alameda County, no matter where, only if you're truly seriously interested in buying or selling, please do contact me. And if you have any questions related to real estate, please do contact me. My phone number is there in my Facebook account, as well as whoever wants to. Just call me at 415-533-0703. Very simple. Call me. I'm available online too. And Varun, thank you. I'm a very shy person when it comes to advertising this way. Even though I'm a sales person, but here I am. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Kiki.
Okay, let me introduce myself again. Thank you for everybody giving me an opportunity. My name is Kiki. My last name is Zhou, Kiki Zhou. I work in Alameda County. I do most of the transaction in Fremont, Newark, Union City. That's the most area I do, but I do other county too. If you have any questions related to the real estate, or even you are looking for the handyman, anything related to the house, you can call me. I work 24/7. Most of my clients all refer from my other past client or my friend. So just give me a call anytime if you have anything need help. And during right now the very difficult time, I know some family they may worry about the income, they lost the job. If you really need the help, please text me or email me. I'm happy to help you to provide you the lunch for your kids. Just email me if anything I can do, or if you need the mask, just email me, call me. I'm happy to do everything if I can help. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kiki. All right. Last but not least, Rajiv, go ahead.
Well, Varun, thank you very much once again for putting this platform together for all of us to be able to discuss the real estate activity in these uncertain times. And hopefully we made a point and reached out to a lot of folks who had questions. There might be some folks who might still have some more questions. They can reach out to me via my website, rajivawasi.com. I'm on Facebook, business page, facebook.com/Rajiv Real Estate. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and all the LinkedIn and all the social handles. So you could reach me virtually any which way you wanted to. I think the conversations ought to be one-on-one, and they cannot be a generalized conversation. One size does not fit all. So if you're in the market to sell or buy, and I work the entire Bay Area, so I could virtually be meeting you initially and then helping you out through consultation. I also do a ton of new home construction. So if you're looking at new home construction, whether there's deals, that's what you're looking for, that's my job to facilitate the purchase or the sale of anybody's homes, okay? So thank you very much once again, and I truly appreciate this time.
thank you everyone once again from my side as well. Really appreciate you guys taking out time and sharing these insights with all the scared and worried investors, buyers, and sellers. And depending on how it goes, if we get another request, I'll reach out to you guys again, and let's do another kind of confidence boosting session in the near future again. All right, thanks everyone. Once again, take care.
You be safe, be careful, Varun.
Yes, stay safe, everyone.
Stay positive.
Yep, stay positive.
Thank
Good
you,
night, everyone.
Rajiv. Thank you, my dear ladies.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.